All right, guys, we're back with another UFC breakdown and predictions video. This time we're doing UFC Fight Night Emmett versus Topuria. Real quick, I just want to give a recap of last week's events. We were able to hit two parlays last week on last week's Fight Night. We had one 6-fight parlay and one 4-fight parlay. I actually cashed out early on the 6-fight one, so I did make some good money on it, but I didn't make the full amount. And it sucks because it did end up hitting, so I did go 6 for 6 on it, but unfortunately we cashed out early and didn't get the full price for it. But either way, two parlays hit, and yeah, I'm happy I picked Cannonier to go by decision. It was a plus 300 pick. I also had Carlos Candeleros by decision. He was an underdog, and then we had also the method of victory. And there was just a couple other good dogs on there as well, like Armin Petrosyan. I had a really good feeling about him going into that fight, although it was really hard to pick against CDL, but I kind of knew Armin Petrosyan had the style to beat him, so we went with him as well. And yeah, man, it was really good night. We're keeping the streak going right now. We got 3 weeks in a row, 4 parlays hit. This is week 4. Let's see if we can keep it going, and let's get right into the breakdown for these fights. With the first fight of the night, it's Cody Brundage versus Sadiq Youssef. I just want to say also that we just got word that during the weigh-ins, one of the fights got canceled, and it was definitely one of my most hyped fights that I was looking forward to for the night, which was Tetsu Utera versus Clayton Rodriguez. That fight got taken off the card, so now it's a 13-fight card. Unfortunately, because that was going to be a banger fight at flyweight, and really sucks, man, because that matchup was amazing. But either way, let's get into the first fight of the night. Cody Brundage versus Cedric Dumas. Dumas, Boot Gang, bro. This guy looks exactly like Boot Gang. Look at him. Boot Gang, whole lot of gang shit. Anyways, freaking, everyone's calling him Cedric Dumbass after his last one because he lost to, who is that? I knew he was going to lose his last one. It was to like Fremd. Yeah, Josh Fremd. He lost to Josh Fremd. He's a decent striker. He's probably got to lay off the weed, but yeah, overall he just wasn't really ready for the big show yet against this fight against Josh Fremd, who is another local guy coming up, making his trying to make his run in the UFC. Cedric Dumas got outclassed in that one, and now he's going up against Cody Brundage, who's a strong wrestler with really good power early on. He really tends to fade though, and his IQ is less than 0. So obviously, I'm not going to be too happy taking those odds at minus 180, minus 175, whatever your book has it as. But Cody Brundage is almost a 2-1 favorite. Not too happy about that because he's very hard to play. He could be winning a fight, and then he'll make an insanely stupid decision like jump guillotine on a world champion jiu-jitsu guy, or start slugging it out with someone who he really shouldn't be doing so. And he also, like I said, tends to gas. But I do think that Cedric Dumas doesn't have the grappling prowess to be able to put up a good enough fight to gas Cody Brundage, although Cody Brundage probably gassed himself anyways. But I do expect Cody Brundage to win this one, probably by finish in the first or second round. If not, he might lose like the third round type thing when he starts gassing out. But I do expect his wrestling heavy style and powerful hands to take him to victory in this one. So we got Cody Brundage taking the first fight. Moving on to the featherweight division, we got Jamal Emmers versus Jack Jenkins. Jamal Emmers is good, man. He's good. He's faced some good level of opponents, really good level of opponents in his UFC career. He's got good experience. He's long. He's a really good wrestler as well. Definitely the better wrestler out of him and Jack Jenkins. And he's well-rounded. And in his last fight, he showed some really good fight IQ as well. He fought a dude coming in who was like 23-0, which is, I mean, it turned out he wasn't quite at the level, but 23-0 is still 23-0. So that's impressive. And Jamal Emmers basically picked him apart, had a really consistent fight throughout, and outclassed him easy 30-27. And now he's going up against Jack Jenkins, who's another good prospect, man, coming in from Australia. He's another one of those rugby players turned fighters. Really tough dude, really good athlete. dangerous leg kicks. Shown to be a decent wrestler in his last fight. I forgot the dude he fought, man, but he wasn't really anybody. But he actually put up a really good fight against Jenkins. It was a back and forth fight. I did have Jenkins edging out each round, but it wasn't no rollover, that's for sure. And he made it hard for Jenkins. There was definitely positions where Jenkins was losing, and all in all, I do think Jamal Embers is going to win this one by being the longer striker, the better wrestler, and having more experience and being able to pick his moments. I don't think Jack Jenkins is going to get Jamal Embers down at all. I think if anyone's getting anyone down, it's Jamal Embers. And then also, I think he's going to outbox him on the feet, having longer reach and being pretty decent with his footwork and range. But the only problem I'm having with this matchup here, which is Jamal Embers is a minus 200 favorite, and he's like 35. He's like 35. He's coming off a knee injury, so he had his knee reconstructed after that Pat Sabatini fight, and he's facing a guy in Jack Jenkins who likes to throw heavy kicks to the legs. And now I feel like that's a problem because, he's coming off knee construction surgery, going up against a heavy kicker, and if those kicks start to do damage, I think it's going to really change the course of this fight throughout, and that could give Jack Jenkins the edge. Just that simple fact that Jamal Embers' knees might not be the same as they were before, and Jack Jenkins throws heavy kicks, and they might affect the fight. And you guys might not even know it. Sometimes fighters get hit in the leg, and they don't do a big limp or anything like that, but mentally in their head, they're like, oh man, my leg is fucked. And now they have to change their game plan accordingly. So it really could even take just one good kick from Jack Jenkins to change the whole outlook of this fight. So right now, I do got Jamal Embers winning by decision. If not, either way, this fight I think is going definitely over a round and a half, and most likely I'm like 80% sure it's going to decision. So maybe play on those odds because right now minus 200 is not a great price on Jamal Embers. If anything, Jack Jenkins is a pretty live dog, and as well as the match is definitely going to decision, definitely over a round and a half. Moving on, lightweight division, we got Trevor Peek versus Chepe Mariscal. Trevor Peek, standing hammer fist knockout, everyone's new favorite fighter. This guy's wild. He's got a heck of a blockhead, man. Just look at his head; it's completely square. Versus Chepe Mariscal, a good. He's like a good vet in the regional scene, man. He's fought a who's who. Like if you look at his record, he's fought Pat Sabatini, Yusuf Salal, Gregor Gillespie, and like a few other current UFC fighters. He's beaten a few, lost the most. He's been knocked out 3 times in the first round by Joanderson Brito. That's one guy he's fought who's in the UFC. He got knocked out by him in like 20 seconds. And it was one of those fights where it reminded me a lot of a Trevor Peek style because they were both in there. They were heated at each other before the fight. And you knew they were going to come out with bad intentions. That's what Trevor Peek's going to do. And Chepe Mariscal has a problem where he kind of gets in an ego and he tries to like match that energy with whoever's in front of him. So if he does that against Trevor Peek, man, he's gonna get knocked out cold. He's already coming up weight classes. He's like a blown up 35er who was fighting at 45, and now he's fighting at 55 on short notice against Trevor Peek. It's gonna be a hard matchup if he wants any chance to win. It's going to have to be with a very thought out game plan, very meticulous game plan, lots of takedowns. But then again, we've seen Trevor Peek get taken down in his last fight against a much bigger dude than Chepe Mariscal, who had some decent takedowns himself, and he couldn't hold Trevor Peek down. Trevor Peek just has that get up jitsu where he just refuses to have his back on the mat for too long, and he'll just force his way up, and then he's right back to swinging. I mean, I'm not super worried about his cardio either. He's got that, country boy cardio. And you have to have good cardio if you're going to throw the way Trevor Peek does. People are talking about, oh, I'm kind of worried about his cardio. But man, if you throw the way he does, most guys would be gassed in the first round. And so he's shown that his cardio is not terrible. But of course, hasn't been tested for 3 rounds. And I don't think he's going to take 3 rounds to get it done. I got Trevor Peek taking this one by knockout in the first round, and the odds are pretty good on him as well. Before today, it was a pick 'em. It was literally 110. Now he's edged up a little bit as a favorite. Still a pretty good line, but I got him to win this one by knockout, and the odds are pretty good on that. So moving on, we got Zhalgas Zhumagulov, Zaddy. He looks like Patty Pimblett, but the Kazakhstan version, Zaddy Zhumagulov versus Joshua Van. Joshua Van is a up-and-coming dude from Texas, man. He has some good training partners. Zhalgas Zhumagulov. Oh, yeah, Joshua Van's only like 21, by the way. 21, 7-1. Zhalgas, tested fighter in the UFC. He's gone with the who's who at the flyweight division. Has been completely edged out in split decision losses in those last few ones. His record could be completely different than what it is right now. I think he's like, I don't know, like 2-4 or something like that. Easily could be 3-2. Easily could be 4-1. But he hasn't gotten the good side of those decisions. And I think in this fight he has the ability to finish the Joshua Van. I know the odds aren't too good for him to get by finish because we haven't seen him do it often. But I think this is his chance here. It's not showing any odds. This is his chance here to get a finish against a guy who's debuting in the UFC, only 7-1, 21 years old. He just needs to. He definitely has the opportunity to get takedowns in this one, ground and pound his way to a victory. But he needs to make sure that he cements these rounds because he has a problem of not, asserting himself in the round. Maybe he'll edge a round, but he doesn't assert the round being won, which leads to these split decision losses. So he needs to come out there and stamp each round to make sure the judges know who won. I think he definitely has the skill set to do it. He's going to have the wrestling edge. He's very light on his feet, good power, good chin, durable guy. So I got him winning this one. I'm hoping he can do it in the distance, but if not, he can take it by decision. So we got Zagas for that one. Moving on, women's strawweight bout. Tabitha Ricci versus Jillian Roberts. Two pretty good, dangerous grapplers in the women's strawweight division. Jillian Roberts, good grappler. She's moving down a weight class. She used to fight up, and now she's moving down. She's gonna be a bit bigger. Tabitha Ricci is just tiny. She's only 5'1". Jillian Roberts is going to be a bit bigger. She's going to be going for the grappling. My only issue is Tabitha may be small, but she's very well. She has very good strength conditioning. Very strong girl, very explosive, very athletic. She's got really good grappling herself, good judo, and her striking is going to be better than Jillian Roberts. She's a lot lighter on the feet, slicker. The Jillian Roberts is definitely a slugger, though. She definitely is tough. She's going to go in there, be aggressive. But I just think the issue is I think she's going to get outclassed on the feet, and she's going to have a very hard time taking down Tabitha Ricci. And I think, if anything, Tabitha Ricci might take her down, might take Jillian down because she does average like 5 takedowns a fight. And if she's on top, she'll be able to negate the submission attempts from Jillian Roberts. And if Jillian Roberts gets sweeps, I think Tabitha should be more than safe with that as well. But again, this fight's going to be decided on who's going to be winning the grappling exchanges, because if Jillian keeps it on the grappling, she has a much higher chance of winning than if she keeps it on the feet. And if she's not successful with the takedowns, then Tabitha is going to be picking her apart on the feet and probably be able to get takedowns of her own. So I got Tabitha Ricci winning this one by decision. The odds are Tabitha Ricci's quite a bit of a no. She's only minus 130. So you could be looking at that money line still. A negative minus 130 isn't too bad, as the fight's definitely going over a round and a half either way. And I got Tabitha Ricci winning by decision, depending on if Jillian Roberts is going to be successful with her grappling or not. Moving on, lightweight division, we got Mateusz Rebecki versus Loic Radzhabov. Mateusz Rebecki looked pretty good in his last fight against Nick Fiore, but Nick Fiore, after he fought Chase Hooper, and he also got beat the snot out of just as bad as Mateusz beat him up. So at the end of the day, it kind of makes that win not look as good as it did, because Chase Hooper went and beat the snot out of Nick Fiore as well. And Mateusz, I mean, he looks good, man. He's freaking short, stocky dude. Comes forward, powerful shots from what they look like, hooks, powerful hooks, and he's got really good ground game. He's able to get really good explosive takedowns, and he's shown the ability to be able to hold the position. Loic Radzhabov, he's had some really good opposition outside of the UFC and the PFL. Fought for the PFL $1 million prize twice, came up short both times. It seems like he's really good, but when he faces that higher level of opposition in whichever promotion, he just seems to fall short each time. I don't in his last fight against that Spanish guy. I can't remember his name, but he had a fight against this young up and coming Spanish kid. They had a good back and forth. He was landing really good overhands. This is Loic. He was landing really good overhands on the kid. He was rocking him on the feet because the kid was worried about takedowns. And Loic did go for a lot of takedowns in that fight. I think he went for like 20 takedowns, got like 10 or 11 takedowns. And that's a lot of takedowns. So he did kind of gas at the end of that fight. He definitely gassed at the end of that fight. And I mean, people were saying his cardio is going to be in question. But I mean, if anyone's going for 20 takedowns, unless you're like Marab, you're gonna gas. That's insanely hard to do in 15 minutes, and to get 10 of them is and be able to get some control time as well adds to the fatigue. So I mean, you can't question his cardio that much. That being said, I do notice when he's on the back foot, he has a lot less success. And I do think Mateusz Rebecki is going to keep him on the back foot this whole fight, throwing power shots. And I don't think Louis going to be able to rely on the wrestling like he did in his last fight and get 10 takedowns. I think Mateusz is going to be able to stuff the takedowns. He's shorter, he's stocky, he has good wrestling himself. He's going to keep Loic on the back foot with power shots and maybe even go for takedowns of his own. I'm not sure if he'll get all of them on Loic, but I have seen Loic get taken down by other fighters that aren't primary grapplers. So I do think Mateusz Rebecki gets this one probably by decision. Loic's never been finished before in all his 22 fights. He's never been finished. All his losses are by decision, and he's gone against some pretty good opposition. So I do think Mateusz Rebecki is going to win this one by obviously looking like he's pushing the pace, landing power shots, stuffing takedowns, and maybe getting takedowns of his own. So I got Mateusz Rebecki by decision in that one. Moving on, Randy Brown versus Wellington Turman. Wellington Turman coming down from the middleweight division. Very questionable chin, very questionable durability, very questionable gas tank. Randy Brown has some durability questions of his own. Like he just basically got finished twice in his last fight against JDM. He got basically knocked out on the feet, then got his back taken and choking out. So he's always had problems with his chin. And also, even on fights where he's supposed to win and just completely blow a guy out of the water, he'll make it a weird close decision. Against Francisco Trinaldo, a super short welterweight, he made that a close fight. There was many other fights where I thought, this is an easy knockout win for Randy Brown. And he just couldn't get it done, and he made it a close decision. So, I mean, with these odds at minus 225, I just can't back Randy Brown at all. And I probably won't be betting this fight. Wellington Turman, he does probably have the edge in wrestling and the grappling, if that's where he wants to take it. I do think if he stays on the feet for too long, he's probably going to get chinned. It's very questionable when guys move down in weight class, especially when they haven't fought there at the highest level yet, and him having durability issues with his chin. I don't know if losing all this weight is going to help that at all. So I do think Randy Brown's probably going to take this one. I would not bet him at all, especially at this price. But I got Randy Brown winning this one by second round finish. Moving on, welterweight bout, Neil Magny versus Phil Rowe. This is a tricky fight for me, man. I feel like looking around, it seems like everybody thinks Neil Magny is just going to steamroll through Phil Rowe. And in hindsight, maybe that could happen. Maybe he could just go out there and have great, striking defense, push Phil Rowe up against the fence, accumulate control time, maybe get a takedown or whatnot, and, edge a decision. But for me, I feel like the finishing capability is definitely on the side of Phil Rowe. By a large margin. I feel like he's definitely the more dangerous submission artist, definitely the more dangerous boxer on the feet. He's much slicker with his striking. He's good at distance management, really sharp 1-2. And I think, when I think about it, okay, who's better at what? I think Neil Magny has better kicks. Phil Rowe has better boxing, better submissions. Maybe his offensive wrestling isn't as good as Neil Magny, and his cage work isn't as good as Neil Magny. So if you take all those things and Neil Magny does have the better cardio, of course. Phil Rowe does have the better power. As far as chins, I think they have both decent, good chins. I haven't seen Phil Rowe get slapped like that. So right now, you take all those things into account, and it's a much closer fight than the odds and everyone else would have you believe. And definitely Phil Rowe's a decent underdog here. He's definitely a live dog. But if I was to give you a pick right now, gun in my head, I would definitely just say Neil Magny by decision. He's been up against much tougher opposition, and that's why everyone's giving him the edge in this fight because he's a proven commodity. Phil Rowe is still decently new in his UFC career. The level of competition he's been has not been that good, and he's lost to guys like Gabe Green, and Gabe Green has kind of a similar style to Neil Magny, although he isn't as long. Where I think if Neil Magny just keeps Phil Rowe pressured, keeping him backwards and gets him up against the fence, beats him up, he has an easy path to victory. The blueprint's been shown how to beat Phil Rowe, although he has possibly gotten better. He's had time since that last fight. He's coming off a few good wins, really good wins. And it's possible that he's improved. But although the two wins that he had weren't the same style as a Gabe Green, and Neil Magny is more towards that style, but he has better attributes like being longer and better cardio than Gabe Green in my eyes. So I'm going to go with Neil Magny by decision. But, if anyone's going to finish this, it's definitely going to be a Phil Rowe. He can finish it on the feet with his hands or even by submission. But we'll go with that. Moving on to the main card, first fight of the night, middleweight bout, Brendan Allen versus Bruno Silva. And this is a scary fight for Brendan Allen, dude. He was supposed to be fighting Jack Hermansson. I don't know what happened to that fight, but that fight would have been a much better matchup for him than a guy like Bruno Silva. Because Bruno Silva, anyone knows, he has cinder blocks in his hands. He can literally, he has one punch fight-changing power. He could be losing a whole fight, and he just needs to land one good punch, and all of a sudden you're waking up wondering what happened. So for Brendan Allen, this is a much scarier matchup than the Jack Hermansson ranked guy as well. So Bruno Silva in the rank, this is more dangerous, more risk. He could be losing his ranking. And there's been a few fights in Brendan Allen's career where it seems like it's his breakout fight, and he just comes short of the moment by losing to a guy who's unranked. Literally the same thing, almost the same as the position he's in right now, where if he fights a ranked guy, he's right there from winning and getting into the rankings, and then he'll take a step back and fight a dangerous non-ranked guy, kind of like a Chris Curtis, and then he'll lose, and then he's kind of back to the drawing board. So he's back in the same position again, fighting an unranked guy who's just outside the rankings but super dangerous, and this is a scary one. I do think Bruno Silva has decent takedown defense. We all know this is kind of like a MMA guy versus a primarily striker. Bruno Silva is not going to be trying to submit Brendan Allen. He's going to be trying to strike and take his head off. Brendan Allen does have does have better footwork. He moves around, skirts around the ring way better. And I've seen in fights, Bruno Silva has a hard time tracking guys who do that, who skirt around the fence. And it seems like he just plots forward and tries to chase them down with his big power. Brendan Allen is going to have the cleaner striking. Bruno Silva is going to have much better power and very competent striking enough to, if Brendan gets too comfortable in the striking, Bruno Silva will find his chin. So I'm hoping that Brendan Allen plays it smart. He does have IQ problems in there. Sometimes he's doing really dumb things. Like when he was fighting Chris Curtis, he was like talking to Sean Strickland outside the cage, and then ended up getting finished. If Brendan Allen he's shown some maturity. It seems like he's getting better, getting smarter. If he can keep with that, the same route that he's been on his last few fights, he should be able to win this one pretty clearly, even by finish. I think he can finish it. He can submit Bruno Silva. I mean, he just got a submission win over Andre Muniz, and that guy is a freaking beast on the ground. He just submitted Chris Jocko, who's also a pretty tough guy to get a finish over. And I think he can definitely submit Bruno Silva. It's just, is he going to have to show the fight IQ to, wear Bruno Silva out with some grappling exchanges, maybe strike with him to get him comfortable again, then go for some takedowns, go for the finish on the ground, or is he gonna, think he's hot shit on the feet and try to bang it out with Bruno Silva? That's the only thing I'm worried about in this fight. Other than that, I do think Brendan Allen is gonna win this fight by finish, and we'll take that one. But yeah, it's always scary betting against a guy with Bruno Silva's power. Moving on, featherweight bout, we got David Onama versus Gabriel Santos. David Onama basically just gassed out in his last fight against Nate Landwehr, was having some good moments, tried to finish it, gassed out, got punished for 2 rounds. And then we got Gabriel Santos, a guy who's looked really good in the regional scene, really good in his UFC debut, arguably beat Lerone Murphy. He freaking showed everything in that fight. He had good kicks, good knees, decent boxing, really good takedowns, explosive takedowns, some good jiu-jitsu off his back. You know, we saw a lot of him in that fight, and I think that's what that's reflected in the odds in this fight. You got a guy who's in his second fight in the UFC, basically the same record as David Onama, and less fights in the UFC, and he's a favorite. He's like a 2-1 favorite. These prices are definitely off. Like, it makes you definitely not want to bet, because David Onama does have some really good power in his hands. He's really athletic, long dude. You don't want to put him as a 2-1 favorite, and he's got more UFC experience as well. So the only problem is that I do think that Gabriel Santos can take David Onama down and will have the edge in the grappling for sure. And he's shown to have a really durable chin. Lerone Murphy was putting guys out with 1 punch. And when Gabriel Santos went in there, he showed no respect to Lerone Murphy's power. Basically walked him down, took his best shots, threw him to the ground, and was having really good success. So I do think Gabriel Santos is going to take this one. If he's going to get a finish, it's going to be in the 2nd to 3rd round. If not, he's going to get a win by decision. Basically, just pressuring the crap out of David Onama, taking him down when he needs to, and even I'm kind of thinking finish here. I'm thinking finish maybe in the 2nd or 3rd round. We'll get Gabriel Santos to do that. But David Onama is going to come out hard in the 1st round and look to get a knockout himself. So look for that. But we'll take Gabriel Santos to do it by 2nd or 3rd round submission. Moving on, heavyweight bout, Justin Tafa versus Austin Lane. 6'5" or 6'6" dude versus a 6 foot dude who's very stocky and short. Austin Lane's long and lengthy, tall. Football player, 10 times better athlete than Justin Tafa. But Justin Tafa has got the power in his hands, and he's shown to his timing's gotten a lot better in his last few fights with his boxing. He's shown some really good counter striking, and he's always had knockout power against a guy, Austin Lane, who likes to throw kicks on the outside, and then when he starts doing boxing exchanges, he throws his chin straight up in the air. It's a very scary case to be in when you're fighting a guy like Justin Tafa, who's a sniper with those power shots. And I got Justin Tafa taking this one by knockout in the 1st round. Austin Lane's going to be in his hometown, so there's that X factor. Not his hometown, but I think he used to play football in the town that the fight night's at this weekend. So definitely going to have the crowd on his back, but I just don't think he's gonna be technical enough. His problem is he leaves his chin up in the air when he starts exchanging, and if you do that with a guy like Justin Tafa, you're just setting yourself up to get knocked out. And I think it only takes one from Justin Tafa to change the outlook of the fight. So we'll take Justin Tafa by knockout in the 1st round. Moving on, women's flyweight bout, Amanda Ribas versus Maycee Barber. I like Amanda Ribas, man. She looked really good in her last fight. Everyone had her opponent. I forget her name, Virgil or whatever. But yeah, everyone had her opponent winning her last one before the fight. No one really gave Amanda a chance. She went out there, completely schooled her opponent on the feet, picking her apart, rocking her, getting takedowns whenever she wanted, accumulating top control, completely outclassed her opponent. And then Maycee Barber had a really close fight where she could have arguably lost against Angela Lee in her last one. And I think that's why the odds reflect that. Because look, having Maycee Barber at a plus, when I heard of this fight, I thought, okay, Maycee Barber's probably going to be the favorite. I'll see what the odds are at in like a day or two. And then I come to see they actually have her as an underdog, and Amanda Ribas the favorite. And I think it's just because to do with their last 2 fights. Amanda Ribas looked really good, and Maycee Barber edged out a win. But again, Angela Lee is like a really, really long and big girl and awkward style to deal with. And I don't think the odds maker were giving that enough credit. But stylistically, though, Maycee Barber is going to be way more aggressive than Amanda Ribas. She's going to be going there trying to finish her. She's definitely going to be more physical up against the cage. The only problem with Macy Barber, though, is if Amanda takes her down, she's going to spend a lot of time on her back, and she hasn't shown the best ability to get back up when she gets taken down. She'll kind of sit there and just try to strike like crazy off her back, which sometimes is what the judges like to see. Sometimes they just, they just judge off damage, quotation marks, because, and Macy Barber does that a lot and throughout the fights. I think Amanda Ribas is going to have success, though, picking her apart on the outside with the leg kicks. I don't think it's going to be enough to sway the judges to win the stand-up exchanges. She's going to have to get takedowns, and she's going to have to accumulate time with Macy Barber on her back if she wants to win this fight. If not, I'm going to have to take Macy Barber by decision, because I think she just does the right things that the judges look for to be able to edge out those wins in those fights. And she's going to be going for it, man. She's going to be more aggressive. She's going to be looking to land damage, and that's what the scoring criteria is nowadays. So I do think having her as the underdog is a really good play to take her, especially to take her by decision. It's a plus 380. I mean, like, you can't really go wrong. There's some really good value in that, and I'll probably take that myself. So we'll go Macy Barber to win by decision. But Amanda Ribas does have a path to victory. Like I said, she can pick her apart with leg kicks on the outside, wait for her to get really aggressive, then go under for takedowns and accumulate ground control time. And that's her path to victory. But I'll take Macy Barber by decision to win that one. Moving on to the main event of the evening, we got Ilia Topuria versus Josh Emmett. Everyone's counting old Josh Emmett out. I know he's like 40 years old almost, going up against a guy, young, hungry, 27-year-old Ilia Topuria, knockout artist, really good grappling, really good jiu-jitsu. But again, man, Josh Emmett has a way more proven record. He's fought way tougher guys. He's gotten really good wins over them. And he's proven to have he's been able to go 5 rounds. Ilia Topuria is untested. His cardio is untested. And he's been chinned as well. He's been chinned a few times. So to have these odds the way they are, that's what's really setting me off here. And like on my books I saw, it was like minus 400. It's even worse than this. Those odds are making me not want to bet Topuria, because there's just no point in being at the end of the night, because he's the last fight of the night. You're going to be holding your ticket. Let's say you have a parlay, and you're going to have Ilia Topuria on the end of it at minus 400. You're not going to be feeling too good about that, especially knowing that Josh Emmett has the power he does. And it's not even about that. It's like Josh Emmett's hard to finish as well. So if the fight goes on for 5 rounds, Josh Emmett's heavy too, big guy. If Ilia Topuria can't get him out on the feet, I feel like he's going to start trying to wrestle him. And then if he starts wrestling him, that's when eventually the gas tank's going to wear a bit, and the rounds are going to go on. And I feel like he's going to slow down, and it's going to be scarier and scarier. But that being said, I do think Ilia Topuria should be able to win this one. It's just the odds are kind of, throwing me off and making me not want to bet this one at all. Ilia Topuria is, faster, great power, great grappling. He should be able to, he has the edge basically everywhere seemingly. It's just he hasn't been tested in certain areas the way Josh Emmett has and all that. That being said, he's going to have way faster hands. He's going to be able to get to the punch first. If the grappling exchange is coming into play, he should be edging that as well. He has really good front chokes and stuff like that. So I'll take Ilia Topuria to win this one. I think he needs a finish. If it goes to decision, he's going to have some rocky rounds, and it won't be a clean sweep. But if he gets a finish, I think it'll be earlier on in the fight, and he'll make himself look really good and put himself in a really good position to get a title fight. So we'll take Ilia Topuria to win by finish in the main event. I mean, I don't love going heavy favorite in the main events. I've been picking all the main events right, and I've had a few underdogs, and I love when I hit those underdog main events. It makes me feel really good. But for this one, I have a hard time picking against Ilia Topuria. Although, like I said, I really don't think the odds are correct at all. Ilia Topuria should be only a slight favorite. And maybe we can get some value in some other plays on these, because right now minus 400 line on Ilia Topuria is just not doing it for me. So maybe we can go over 2.5 or over 1.5, and you'll find some better value in that. But yeah, that's all the fights for this weekend. I know it's a bit of a longer video. Definitely some good underdogs on this card for sure. Macy Barber is a good underdog. Who else we got? Bruno Santos is a, tricky underdog. Phil Rowe is not a bad underdog as well. Alois Karazabov is Jillian Roberts, not a terrible underdog. And Jack Jenkins is not a bad underdog at all. Definitely a lot of over a round and a halves for this one because, like I said, this matchmaking is really good. A lot of very even fights, and so that should help with the over 1.5s. And yeah, just try to find your plays where you can, because I noticed a lot of these are the lines are just off. Like, to have Gabriel Santos such a heavy favorite against David Onama is just off. Which other one? Yeah, Jamal Emmers is a way too heavy of a favorite. Cody Brundage, way too heavy of a favorite. Like, the lines are off on the guys that should win. It's like they should win, but the lines should not be what they are. So you're definitely gonna have to find value in the over 1.5s or some other props to play. But that's all for this card, guys. Good luck on the betting, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.